Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode two of the week two. It's about chapter four of your book, Social Structure and Interaction in Everyday Life. At first, like other chapters, we have some questions for thinking deeper. What statuses do you occupy? Why do we interact differently with our parents than with our friends? How does social change occur? What can we learn from observing how people interact with one another? In this chapter, you will have some topics and you will discuss and learn some topics that these are very, very useful for deeper interpreting your everyday life and also especially in your social life, but interpersonal, social life, occupational life, and friend with your friends, with your family members, in all aspects of your life. Today, we will learn some good points about the deeper interpreting of the processes engaged in our everyday life. Sociology and everyday life, the art of driving for dinner. A majority of people who are counted as homeless living on the streets or in cars, abandoned buildings, or other places not intended for human habitation. How do you think about majority of them or not? A majority of people who are counted as homeless living in the streets or in cars, abandoned buildings, or other places not intended for human habitation. How do you think? Is it true or false? It may be false. Many homeless people have full-time employment. Is it true or not? If they have full-time employment, why they are homeless? How do you think? Is it any correlation, intertwining between to be homeless and with no employment or not, or short-time employment? It is true. A lot of homeless people only don't have home for sleeping, for sheltering, not as a job. They have job, they have full-time job, but they don't have enough money to resident in a regular house or home. Homelessness is affected by both income and the affordability and available housing. Affordability of available housing is both sides. It's true. Cost and benefit. Yes, your income is your benefit, but how about your costs? If your cost is more than your benefit, there is no profit, it is loss. And after that, for example, at the site of homelessness, you will become homeless. Homeless people typically panhandle so that they can buy alcohol or drug. Panhandle is uh, begging in the street from the cars and other uh, subjects that you can give money for your daily life usages. Homeless people typically panhandle so that they can buy alcohol or drugs. How do you think about it? Is it the problem alcohol or drug or no? It is only about not to have drug, not to have home. It is false. Shelters for homelessness consistently have clients who sleep on overflow cots, in chairs, in hallways, and in other non-standard sleeping bed arrangements. How do you think about it? Yes or no? True. There have always been homeless people throughout the history of the United States. Is it always or not? Is it true? It is capitalistic. The economy of America is capitalism. So capitalism based upon your income, your money making, and if you cannot make money, okay, you will not have any home to live. Double up population have decreased in research. Double up population is the sort of population that, for example, children after the ending of, for example, the time and the age of adolescence, they are still at home and live with their parents. It is double of populations have decreased in recent years. No, it doesn't decrease. Okay, the first part is social interaction and social structure. The basic part of our discussion uh, during this chapter will be social interaction and social structure. Social interaction is the process by which people act or respond to other people and is the foundation for all relationships and all groups in society. Is a process. At first, social interaction is a process. Secondly, act or react, act or respond. And three, it should be the foundation of all the groups and teams and relationships and interpersonal relationships maybe in society. So we have four words, four keywords for definition of social interaction. At first, it is a process. Second, it is based on action, or third, reaction, respond. And four, it is foundation of all relationship. It is a style of relationship. And social structure is the complex framework of social institutions and societal practices that make up a society and that organize and establish limits on people's behavior. What are the keywords here for definition of social structure? At first, it is a framework about institutions and practices. So, at first, it is a framework about institutions and practices. The next keyword is makeup and organize and limit. Are these keywords? You can talk about the behavior. You can talk about the behavior. So it's a framework. It is about institutions or practices, not framework of everybody, every single body. No, it is a framework of institution or practices that make up, organize, limit. Make up a society, organize and establish limits. You can change it, organize and establish for limit, or make up or limit. So we have, it's a framework about institution and practices. What is the duty? What is the function of social structure? Make up or limit. Make up a society or limit people's behavior. This is social structure. So we have social interaction as a process for acting and reacting for all relationships, keywords, process, acting, reacting or response, and relationships. It is social interaction. Social structure, it is framework for institutions or practices that make up or limit. If you know the keywords of every definition, it will be so easy for you to remember and remind that definition and understand something more than remember and more than remind. Social structure, the macro level perspective. We have two perspectives about social structure. What was the elements of social structure? Framework for institution, for practices, for makeup, and for limit. And at the macro level perspective, the framework of social is an orderly and fixed arrangement. What is the type of makeup? What is the type of limit? It is orderly and fixed makeup, orderly and fixed limit. Procedures for establish or, for example, producing limit. So with those keywords, we have here at the macro level, we have orderly and fixed arrangement, orderly and fixed arrangement for established limit, for make up a society as a framework for institutions. Okay, here, society has three parts: social institutions, social groups, statuses, and roles. In social institutions, we have traditional institutions and emergent institutions. Statuses and roles, we have ascribed status and achieve status. And in social groups, we have primary groups and secondary groups that we will talk about all of them here after this PowerPoint. Component of social structure. So we have here social structure again, repeat, repeat, repeat. Learning is a result of repeat. So social structure, what are the keywords of social structure? At first it is framework. Secondly, for institutions or for social practices, what is the function of social structure? Makeup or establish limit. Makeup or limit. In macro level, there are orderly organization. There are pre-assumed organization. We can have some fixed and orderly arrangement about the makeup of the society or establish of limits. Okay, component structure is status and status. What is the status? Status is a socially defined position in a group or society characterized by certain expectations, rights, and duty. Sometimes when you hear some word, you can imagine the direct meaning of that word, of that concept. But in every and each field, each major field of science, we have different specific operational definition for each general concepts. For example, when you are talking about the society, you know what is society, and what you know what is the meaning of set, and what is the meaning of status. And after that, you talking about the social structure and status. It is very operational and a specific definition from the science of study of society, so-called sociology. Status is socially defined. So it is socially defined. The definition is prepared by society, position, socially defined. So status is a position about the society in a group or society. What are the characteristics of status? Certain expectations, rights, and duties. So it is socially designed position and expectation, rights, and duties. If it is very obvious for you to know about that, the sociology and is the course of sociology, it is not necessary to each PowerPoint we say that it is a socially designed or socially defined and other things. Okay, the keywords for status are certain, specific, determined expectations, rights, and duties. And the status says compromises all the statuses that a person occupies at a given time. It is status set. All the statuses that one person occupies at a given time. Because after that, we will talk about the roles, and you will know that the differences between roles and status, and also the different interconnection between the concepts related to the roles and status. So we have a status, certain expectation, right, and duty in a group or society. Status are these expectation, rights, and duty are related to the position. Who has defined the position? Society. It is a socially defined position. What are the main characteristics of status? It is socially designed position with some certain specific predefined expectation, rights, and duty. And all the status that one person will experience at a given time, it is called status set or set of status. For example, you see a hypothetical status for one person. Sometimes she is a student, she is worker, she is church member, she is citizen, she is resident, she is mother, she is wife, she is daughter. And for example, expectation, rights, and duties in a status of to be a student, it is beliefs and norms about education and school. What are we when we assume you in a status of student status? We say that yes, these are our educational expectation. These are your educational rights. These are your educational duties. Or as a wife, these are your expectation from your spouse, or our expectation of you as a spouse, or spouse rights or spouse duty, and as a citizen, political and government expectation from their citizens. So you can see at a given time, we have different status that gathering together and sometimes conflict between these status is a status set. Okay? In each status is a position, socially defined position with some specific document, specific duties, expectations, values, and rights. Okay, and use any hypothetical status test set. We have three types of status: scribe status, achieve status, and master status. What is ascribe status? An ascribe status is a social position conferred at birth or received involuntarily later in life based on attributes over which the individual has little or no control. Ascribed status is a social position conferred at birth or received involuntarily later in life. You don't have any choice at your birth. Why? Because it is primarily a status. It is ascribed status. Or if you will receive this status after your birth or other stage, it is not voluntary, involuntary, out of your control, out of your will. Based on attributes over which the individual has little control or no control. For example, social attributes. For example, culture. For example, religion. These are the attributes, these are the attitudes, these are the concepts, these are the orders that you don't have any control over them. For example, gender. You don't have any control over your gender identity. For example, your race. You don't know choice or control over your race, your family members, your family origin, and ethnic background. Ethnic background, you don't have. These are that attributes, that adjectives, that qualities, and that modalities that you don't have any control over them. These statuses, which are received by these qualities, these modalities, are called scribe status and achieve status. And achieve status is a social position. Again, a social position. Don't remember. We are talking about the status in sociology. So every status is a socially designed position. Socially designed. It is the status position which are designed and which are defined or designed by society. An achieved status is a social position that a person assumes voluntarily as a result of personal choice, merit, or direct effort. These are your choice. For example, I can see the scribe status are your history, or your origin, and achieve status can be your destiny, not your history, from the history to destiny. You have some voluntarily or direct effect or by will, intentional choice. It is personal choice. For example, to be a mom, to be an athlete, to be a spouse, to be a teacher, to be a co-worker. All these social roles, all these socially designed and socially defined positions that you have some voluntarily aspect on them, on choosing them or rejecting them. These are called achiever status. And master status is the most important status, more significant status, more brilliant status one person play and occupies in the all status within his or her status set. We saw, for example, here we saw that here, which is hypothetical status set. Yes, we've seen that a lot of status are here. We can see it. Okay. After that, one of them, for example, but on the status of a student, worker, church member, citizen, resident, mother, wife, and daughter. For example, as a female, at first, it is ordinary, not always, it is ordinary. Your master status is daughter. And after that, as a female, is to be a wife, to spouse. And after that, to be a mother. For example, social and out of home activities. At first, you are a student, and after that, you are a worker, and after that, you are a business owner and other things. Or at the basic socially acceptable behaviors and status and roles, you can be a good church member. Sometimes you are a resident. After some years, for example, you will be citizen. So at a given time, you can have different status set. There's a different status that all of them is in a given time is called status set. One of these status sets, within the status set at a given time is more important occupied by the person. That status is master status. So we have inherent or naturalistic or without any control, any choice, out of your choice status. It is scribe status. No, sometimes, and a lot of times, not sometimes, other roles, other socially defined or socially designed status and position you will choose in the future for your personal life, for occupational life, work life, love life, and other things. These are achieved status. But always in a given time, in a certain period of time, we can find one of this status which is dominant and overcome and push force to other status to be brilliant. It is master status. What are the symbols of status? How can we find and describe and diagnosis about this status? What are the signs about recognizing the status? The status symbols are material signs. It is the definition. So they are material. Symbols is the sign. Material, inform, specific. These are material signs, give information, specific status. We have three keywords for status signs. For example, ring, for the status of being married, having a ring on your finger, it is the material signs that inform other people that yes, I am married. I'm not single. It is material, it is ring, you can see it, you can watch it, you can touch it. And after that, it is a specific sign, yes. It's in a specific shape of ringing, in a specific finger. In a lot of societies, it's the sign of marriage, okay? So status symbols are the material signs that we as the status owner and other people as our observers, some people who are observing us, these are the signs that we can say to them what is our status in that socially designed and socially defined position. And in addition, we can say, yes, sometimes it is my master status. For example, the economic status symbols. I want to I want to talk to others, I want to show others that, yes, I am rich. Your car, your house, your clothes, your office, your luxury properties, and marital status, rings, educational status, books and library, and other things. It is the observable part of social status. It is the observable part that you can show other people about your status. Role and its type. Okay. Now we can differentiate between status and role. A role is a set of behavioral expectations associated with a given status. So the basic is the status. Before that is structure. Before that is society structure. In society structure, we have a social status. In the social status, we have expectation. Specific expectation from one status is called role. A role is a set of behavioral expectation. The major word in a role is behavioral. Other people should be able to watch, to observe your behavioral expectation as it defined by your role. Okay, associated with a given status, we have role demands, role expectation, role performance, role conflict, role strain, and role exit. These are the keywords about in discussion about the roles. Okay. Role expectation. Role expectations is a group's or society definition of the way that a specific role ought to be played. Is a group's or society definition of the way that a specific role ought to be played. It is our expectation, our demand. We expect, for example, from a psychologist to be a cool man or woman who is very smart about behavioral analysis and sometimes so deep about the roots of behavior and other things. In one of the status you have in your society as psychologist, the society, your group, your peer group, your mother, your father expects you to be cool, to be calm, self-control, anger management, deep observation, detailed observation, and sometimes looking at the roots of the behavior and. But what you can see in the reality from me as a psychologist, it is my role performance. It is my role performance. What is the expectation? What is shown and what is seen and what is observed in reality? It is role performance. Role performance is how a person actually plays a role, not about your or your society or group definition of the way or expectation. But role conflict, it is one of the worst problems in the life of human being, modern life of human being. Role conflict. We have different status. From the status, there are different expectation, behavioral expectation. We should show and experience different roles, and sometimes between different status, we cannot have a balance, produce a balance between the role expectation, status expectations, and we will go to the state of role conflict. Occurs when incompatible role demands are placed on a person by two or more status held at the same time. For example, very ordinary is work and life balance. For example, if you are a spouse, also you are student of university, and also you are, for example, servant in a restaurants. That's role conflict. Why? Because different position, different expectation, it is role conflict. Or, for example, finally you are a daughter of your mother. Some expectation from a daughter, it's very helping and other things, kind and helping, and you are so tired because of your workplace and your educational pressure and also your spouse and marital status and other things. It is role conflict. Role conflict is the most crucial, most basic cause of every mental illness. Role conflict at first. Someone with role conflict doesn't have any peace of mind, any peace of mind. So one of the greatest and of the basic parts of psychotherapy, for example, or counseling or coaching, is finding and working on the roles and role conflict, something more than role. If it is good for you, if you have are so powerful and powerful, yes, we can handle your different role and with no serious and significant role conflict. But the ordinary people, it is not very ordinary. Why? Because different roles, different social status, and role conflict. After that, you will experience role strain. Role strain occurs when incompatible demands are built into a single status that a person occupies. At first, we have incompatible demands, role demands, different roles, incompatible role demands. Sometimes in one role, you have incompatible demands. For example, in family, for example, sexual roles will produce role strain during pregnancy. Because in one role as a spouse, you have one role to be a spouse. But you are, as a female, a pregnant, and you don't have any good position, any good vitality, any good body and mental attractiveness for your, for example, a spouse. On the other side, he needs to hug you, he needs to have some sexual relationship with you as a legal and registered partner and a spouse, as a husband. But you have two role demand. In one role, you have two incompatible demand. It will produce role strain. So role conflicts is about different roles, incompatible demands in two or more status, different roles, different status. Role strain is about one single specific role. Strain is from that role. Why? Because in that role, you don't have any compatibility between the different demands. You can see, for example, role expectation, performance, conflict, and strengths. Role a group or society definition of the way a specific role ought to be played. Oh, yes, professor, right. I know the answer, which is, as a student, I expect you to answer my questions. It is role expectation of the student's status. And role performance. Do I need to know the concept in order to pass this course? Role performance. Especially your performance is compatible to my expectation. Sometimes, for example, role conflict occurs when incompatible demand are placed on one person by two or more status held at the same time. I appreciate you letting me have Thursday off from work so I can study for my sociology exam. The role of waitress, and the role of, for example, student. It is role conflict. I should have some off from my job to study my sociology course. And role strain. Being a student is a lot more stressful than I thought it would be. Yes, it is not conflict between my two different status, for example, being a student and being a worker. No, for the same role, being a student, we have different incompatible demands. My compatibility, my demand is to be a good student, but I don't have time, I don't have energy, I don't have interest, I don't have any motivation, any good memory, any reading skills about reading and studying and learning and taking exam and passing the exam. So in one role, only for the status of being a student, we have different incompatible demands. These produce role strain. And role exit. Finally, role exit occurs when people disengage from social roles that have been central to their self-identity. Bye-bye, I'm not your spouse. You will exit of your spouse role. To their self-identity, one of the greatest functions of roles and status is that sometimes, especially in scribe status, is a major part of your identity, self-identity. How do you think about yourself? How do you define, how do you identify yourself for yourself? Is by your ascribed status. What is your race? What's your ethnicity? Who is your mom? Who is your father? Who is your uncle? What is your nationality? What is your, where have you born? And other things. These are ascribed status. You don't have any control or choice over them. No choice, no control. But unfortunately, these out of the control roles, these out of the control status are the major part of our central self-identity. When you exit of this role, the phenomenon is role exit. And social group. A social group consists of two or more people who interact frequently and share a common identity and a feeling of interdependence. A social group consists of two or more people who interact frequently and share a common identity and a feeling of interdependence. It is social group. What are the keywords for the social group? Two or more people. It's obvious that when you are talking about the group at first, it is not single person, one person. More than one person, two or more people. Interaction is very important. Common identity or feeling, this is very important. So we have group, interaction, common interdependence, common identity, and in a feeling of interdependence. They have some mental, spiritual, intellectual, cognitive, social, economic share meaning and share goals. These are social group. What you can see in social group, you see that common identity. It's a group dynamic. And for example, in adolescence, our peer group is very, very important part of gaining identity, gaining our personality for the future. Your friends in adolescence is everything, as like appearance. In adolescence, appearance and friends are everything. And our appearance in front of our friend is more than important than everything. So when it is called social group, the title is social group, that you can see the common identity and interdependence, feeling of interdependence, connection together. Groups are primary and secondary. Primary groups is small, less specialized group in which members instead of face-to-face, emotion-based interaction over an extended period of time. So we have small, no specialized, face-to-face communication, emotion-based interaction, long-term. In the contrast, we have secondary group, a large group, not a small group, less specialized group, no here, more specialized group, in which members engage in face-to-face communication in primary group. In secondary group, we have a more impersonal communication. It is emotion-based interactions. It is goal-oriented relationships in secondary group. And in primary group, we have over an extended period of time, we have for a limited period of time. So a formal organization. After groups, we are entering the concept of organization. A formal organization is a highly structured group formed for the purpose of completing certain tasks or achieving specific goals. What are the keywords? First, structure. Two, purpose. Three, tasks. Four, goals. Or you can change it. For example, instead of task, we say completing or achieving. No, my preference is structure, task, and goals. A formal organization is a highly structured group formed for the purpose of completing certain tasks or achieving specific goals. So if you have no specific certain task, if you cannot define specific goals and the way of achievement and the future and the perspective, it is specific goals, and it is not highly structured group. Okay, it is not organization. If it is not, maybe organization, but it is not formal organization. And a social institution, it is organization. What is the meaning of social institution? A social institution is a set of organized beliefs and rules that establish how a society will attempt to meet its basic social needs. So, what are the keywords? or definition of social institution. At first, beliefs, rules, needs, beliefs, rules, needs. And more important than everything, organized. The social institution is a set of organized beliefs and rules that establish how a society will attempt to meet its basic social needs. For example, political parties are social institutions. Legislation part of the government is the social institutions, organized beliefs and rules that establish how a society will attempt to meet its basic social needs. Don't forget, social institutions are about basic social needs. Again, again, we have the social institutions and the different perspectives. Functionalist perspective about the social institution is suggests that social institutions perform essential functions for society. One, replacing members of society. Two, teaching new members. For example, maybe in an organization, you can assume and consider HR department as a social institution in a formal organization. Producing, disturbing, and consuming goods, preserving order, and providing and maintaining a sense of purpose. These are the basic functions of social institution by the perspective of functionalists. And in conflict perspective, they say social institutions need basic needs, but that they do not meet everyone's needs equally. Why? It is about conflict. When you are talking about conflict, you are talking about inequality, not quality. Sorry, inequation, not equation. It is not equity. It is not equation. It is not equal right. If there are equal right, there are no conflict. Conflict is about the distance between the different interpretation or different observable rights between, for example, different genders, different races, different countries, different nations, different ethnicities, and other things. So when you are talking conflict theory and conflict perspective, always you are talking about not to be equal. If it is equal, there is no conflict. So in the part of meeting the basic needs of the society, yes, conflict perspective says yes. Social institution need basic needs, but don't mean everyone needs equally. It is different, for example, this person or that person, this member or that person, not the same volume and the same severity of meeting the needs. And sociocultural change, societies, technology, and sociocultural change. Hunting and gathering society use simple technology. We are talking about the different societies. Hunting and gathering societies use simple technology for hunting animals and gathering vegetation. Basic parts is hunting society and gathering society. Hunting society about the animals, gathering society about the vegetables and vegetation. And after that, we have other parts: pastoral societies, horticultural societies, agrarian societies, industrial societies, and post-industrial societies. In the process of progressing the societies, the hunting society became pastoral societies. Pastoral societies are based on technology that supports the domestication of large animals, domestications of large animals to provide food. So it was hunting society. After that, it was about hunting. After some centuries, after some years, for example, 1,000 years, hunting society became pastoral society, not about hunting, about domestication of large animals, for example, cows. Okay? And after that, gathering societies will become not the vegetation. It is about plants. Societies are based on technology that supports the cultivation of plants to provide food. After that, it became agrarian societies. It is larger scale farming. It is include animal drawn on energy powered plows or equipment to produce this food supply. Something more than gathering, something more than horticulture. It is about agricultural. Agrarian society use technology on larger scale farming. As you see, large animal domestication of large animal farming in larger scales, not gathering the vegetables, not cultivation of plants. It is about farming, something more than, for example, horticulture or gathering. Final part is industrial societies and post-industrial societies. Industrial societies are based on technology that mechanize production. And post-industrial society are ones in which technology support the service-based economy or information-based economy. It is not about the production, mechanized production. It is about the service-based production or information-based production. Our production is service. Our production, it is not material objects. It is not mechanized production. It is like here. Now it is post-industrial society. But because, for example, a large part of economy in America is used by, for example, internet. And all the industries engage with internet, they are service-based and information-based economy. Durkheim said, how do societies manage to hold together? Division of labor refers to how various tasks of a society are divided up and performed. Work division or division of labor is one of the basic and most influential, most useful theories and thoughts which were done, which did a very good role play in the societies, in the pre-industrial, basic industrial countries and basic industrial society. It is social solidarity, mechanical solidarity, and organic solidarity. What are the meaning of solidarity? We can use, for example, solidarity. It is derives from a society's social structure, which is based on the society's division of labor. And in mechanical solidarity refers to the social cohesion of pre-industrial societies in which there is minimal division of labor and people feel united by shared values and common social bonds. This is something that labor, something that work for job for money or working. We are entering the age of career. And organic solidarity refers to the social cohesion found in industrial society in which people perform very specialized tasks and feel united by their mutual dependence. In social solidarity, in a work, we cannot feel so united because everybody do his or her own job, own work. In mechanical surgery, we feel united by shared values and common social bonds. But in organic solidarity, we feel united by mutual dependence. It is a little deeper than, for example, mechanical solidarity or social solidarity. The word Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft is the meaning community and society, used by German sociologist Ferdinand Tönnies. Ferdinand Tönnies used the word Gemeinschaft, also it is used like it in English language, Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. Gemeinschaft is a traditional society, it is community, in which social relationships are based on personal bonds of friendship and kinship and on intergenerational stability. Grandpa, pa, son, and other parts. But Gesellschaft is a large urban society in which social bonds are based on impersonal and specialized relationships with little long-term commitment to the group or consensus on value. This is society and community, Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. But at the micro level perspective, when we are talking about social society, we can talk about social interaction, not social structure. Social structure are at the macro level. Social interactions are of the micro level. Everyone interprets social interaction rituals differently. It is not cultural, not cross-cultural. It is at the micro level that everyone, not every group, not every team, not every, for example, department, everyone, every single member of society, every single member of community or society or team interprets social interaction rituals differently. The social construction of reality is the process by which our perception of the reality is largely shaped by the subjective meaning that we give an experience. It is called social construction of reality. Reality can be a good eyeglass for your mind. It is which are perception of reality, not the real reality, not the pure reality. There is no pure reality in human interactions in human mind. It is perceived reality, perception of reality is largely shaped by the subjective meaning, not objective meaning. There is no objective meaning. Meaning is that the part of subjectivity of our mind, not the objectivity. The objective is something you can see. But when it is called meaning, meaning is the subjective part of accident, events, and that we given an experience. It is social construction. You have an experience. What is the subjective meaning of that experience for you? And your perception of reality is based on the subjective meaning that you will experience during an event, or you will produce that subjective meaning during an experience. There's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy is a false belief or prediction that produces behavior that makes the originally false belief come true. You will do something that approve your pre-assumptions. And you say, did you see my pre-assumptions? My assumptions was true. You cannot see? This is my evidence. I've done something and I have approved my pre-assumptions. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm the prophet for fulfilling myself. Why? Because everything in my I think it is true. And what is my evidences? My experiences are my evidences, approval evidences for confirming my pre-assumptions about the reality. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ethnomethodology, ethnology and ethnomethodology and ethnography is some part of research method and other parts of science, human sciences, especially sociology and sometimes in psychology. We have ethnography and ethnomethodology. It is concentrated on ethnicities. It's the study of the common sense knowledge that people use to understand the situation in which they find themselves. It's the methodology for studying. It's the study of the common sense knowledge that people use to understand the situation. It is common sense for general people, general population. It's something like populistic behaviors. Yes, everybody knows that. It is not scientific. It is not underdoubt thinking. It is not questionable thinking. It is very regular and common sense knowledge. This method examines how individuals use everyday conversation and gestures to construct a common sense view of the world. Yes, you are right, like me. All of us know that. Everybody knows that. Sorry, it is everybody? How can I have question about your beliefs, about your assumptions, about your pre-assumptions? But that part is that we try and we use everyday conversation as gesture to approve a common sense view of to approve our assumptions about the world. Impression management refers to people's efforts to present themselves to others in ways that are most favorable to their own interests or images between my ideal self and my real self. What is between here? It is my impressive behavior, my show off, my self image. And face saving behavior refers to the strategy people use to rescue their performance when the experiences for the potential or actual loss of face. It is very popular, especially in the Eastern world, not in the Western world. Nonverbal communication, transfer of informal information between persons without the use of words, visual cues, vocal features, and environmental factors. And what will we have in future? How will technology change the way we interact? You are the future leaders, future managers, not far future, near future manager or leader of this country and this nation, industry, business, intellectuality, and other parts of deep or not too deep superficial knowledge and application of knowledge in the general world and in the real world. So each of you should think about the role of technology in the future and in the effect of technology in our interpersonal communications. Um, Bye. It's over, and I will talk to you in the other sessions. Bye bye.